Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Ranger Slayer. I don't think it's actually Mighty Morph, it's just regular Power Rangers, because they're going to bring a bunch of others, I imagine, in here soon, or at least they should, because there aren't many Power Rangers left. In fact, technically, Ranger Slayer, the original Pink Ranger, is the only real Ranger with a coin left. Like, there's these guys called the Coinless. They're like Zach and Aisha. I think Aisha is the one who replaced Trini, God rest her soul, when the actual actress died in real life. But Trini's also in here too, and there's like, those three, and it's like, holy crap, they're coinless. What happened to their coins? Which makes me want to go back and read those, which is a really good thing. Anyway, guys, I'm going to say a lot about this comic book, but the main reason why, because I've been wanting to jump on this comic book, I've been talking about that for a while. Ever since I saw the Shattered Grid and Lord Drakon, plus I collect, the toys, and Hasbro makes the best toy. I'm going to say it right now, Hasbro, feel free to whatever. Hasbro makes the absolute best toys, so I see, like, the white and the green Rangers, like, all right, I'm going to buy Jason David Frank. Fine. I'm going to buy Tommy because I kind of liked him. Like, now I got to get the Lord Zed. Now I got to get the freaking Goldar. Now I got to get all these different figures because, holy crap, they're actually kind of cool. I don't think I ever actually found the Goldar. A little bit heartbreaking there. Anyway, so they said that this was supposed to be a jumping on point. I'm like, oh, my stars and garters. Is this really a jumping on point? Because if it is, you get a brand new fan for life. Well, hopefully, as long as you don't make sucky comic books. I'm not here to fluff anybody's feathers. And make no mistake, there are going to be some fanboys who are going to be pissed off at some of the things I got to say, because God forbid you insult, or they imagine you're insulting. Constructive criticism sometimes come across as, my life is invalidated because you said something bad about a comic book I like. I'm not here to ruffle or fluff anybody's feathers. I'm here to review this comic book, and only this comic book. And most importantly, is it a jumping on point? I'm going to get into all that stuff after we start talking about who made this comic book. Credit where credit's due. Ryan Parrott is the writer, and he's apparently been writing some of the best Power Ranger stuff out there, because I hear his name and I see his name attached to all the things that people are saying. This is the definitive Power Rangers right now, taking it to levels that we've never seen before. Illustrated by Dan Mora. Also did, 4 of the covers, so like including this main cover. Gani Montez did the foil variant cover, which I'm hoping I don't regret. I hope there's no FOMO there. And then there's Jen Bartel, who did the spoiler variant cover. What's with the spoilers? Stop it. All right? I'll warn you if I start getting into spoilers in this comic book. I'm sure I will. I'm positive I will. Raul Angulo, I probably butchered that name, did the colors, and Ed Dukeshire did the letters. And this is, of course, a Boom Studios comic book. And boom, let's move on. So we start off with, in my opinion, the absolute best part of this comic book. Ryan Parrott said this was going to be a jumping on point. Let me tell you what a jumping on point means. It means that if you have been reading Power Rangers for a long time, then you don't get a say in whether it's jumping on point or not. No, you can have an opinion, but you don't get anywhere near the final say. In fact, if you're in a line for the final say and you see someone give the final say on it, you're lucky you got that close. And if somebody's offended by that, oh well, grow up. The true people who actually get to say if this is a jumping on point are people who are actually jumping on. What I'd really be curious is if somebody read this comic book and they've never even seen the TV show, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Because if you can follow this, I'm genuinely impressed. As for me, I watched, I believe, all the episodes of the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers before they started changing people. I watched a couple. I forget who replaced the original Red Ranger. I think his name was Mike or something like that, whatever. And I believe that Aisha is the name of the character who replaced Trini after the real life Trini, the actress who played Trini, died in a car accident, which is really messed up, and God rest her soul. So I remember, and my kids have been, my 7 and 5-year-olds have been getting into the Power Rangers. Well, actually, they haven't watched in a while, but last year they watched a lot of Power Rangers. They'll probably start watching again pretty soon because it's interesting. And of course, their favorites are the original, the Mighty Morphin. So that's what I remember from when I was younger. Back when I first started university, or when I first started college, before I got to regular university, there was a guy who talked about it all the time. So I figured, let me go and check it out. And I was like, okay, this is actually kind of cool. So I watched it. This isn't my childhood. This is part of my adulthood, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So, yeah. I know something about the Power Rangers. like I said, the best part of this was actually the first page, because they say this saying that Kimberly's mom had a doormat that says, "Home is where the heart is." H-A-R-T, not H-E-A-R-T, which is the proper spelling of heart. That's funny because the first drill sergeant that I had in the Army was Sergeant Hart, H-A-R-T. So I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. I'm like, wait a second. Was Kimberly's name Kimberly Hart in the Power Rangers? Later on in the book, like several pages later, it's confirmed that it is, which is excellent because it confirms what you're already thinking. So if in exposition it would have said, Kimberly Hart, blah, 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 blah. Listen, I always talk about the preamble. I always talk about the foreword. And you got to be a special kind of writer to be able to forego a foreword. And here I'm looking at this, and I'm like, yeah, foreword would have been an easy way out. And it wouldn't have worked as well as what Parrott did in this. I don't know, I can't remember if I've ever read anything else by Ryan Parrott, but at this point I'm thinking to myself, I need to start reading a whole lot more by Parrott. Why? Because exposition would have been one thing. A foreword, a prologue, would have been something else. And both of them would have been, the former more than the latter, an easy way out. Let's just, hey, there's a jumping on point. Let's tell everybody in general. Let's give them the gist of what happened. No. This book has no forward. I forgot that Boom Studios does the stuff on the inside cover. I love that. I love that they do this. This is awesome. But there's no forward on this. So everything you have to get through the comic book, which is dangerous because you can make it really boring for the people who've been reading the comic book for the longest time. I talk all the time about the John Byrne rule, where he says every comic book that you make is somebody's first comic book. Not just their first comic book in your series, but the first comic book they've ever read. There's a good chance that somebody's first comic book was this comic book. But there's also the chance that you've been doing this for a long time. The first time I read about read about the John Byrne rule was actually in one of the early Volume 2 of Wolverines. Because people were complaining that it always starts off with, I'm the best there is at what I do, but what I do ain't very nice. Two stupid little text boxes that get people freaked out and just, I'm tired of reading this all the time. It's two stupid text boxes and you're whining about two text boxes? By the time issue 5 came out, I think, or 6, I'd already gotten used to the idea of, just skip those two because I already know what it's going to say. Boom. But it reminds me, hey, but the John Byrne rule. Every comic book is somebody's first comic book. So it's hard. Just a simple little saying, I'm the best there is at what I do, but what I do ain't very nice, can piss off longtime readers by them constantly seeing it in every single issue. So you got to be careful with that. People who've been reading Shattered Grid and everything since the very first issue since Boom Studios got the license for the Power Rangers, you could wind up pissing off a lot of fans over weak, simple stuff, right? People are very fragile. Well, some people can be very fragile, This was one of the best openings I have ever read in a comic book before because it didn't give exposition. It didn't even give a forward. It did that. And it didn't even confirm that her name was Hart, that her family name, her surname was Hart. Instead, what it did was it jogged my memory. Oh, hot damn. So just the idea that I've watched the TV show back when it first came out, glanced at it a couple times while the kids were watching it last year, was enough for me to, was it Kimberly Hart? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. Because then it starts trying to make me think of conversations that they had, which brings in other stories, which brings in other characters, which brings up various other plot lines throughout the different TV series, which gets me thinking about everything that I knew about the comic book, about the TV show, with that one stupid little doormat comment. My God. I don't know if Parrott realizes how good that was. It jogged my memory, and very few comic books do that. Well, I've got a good memory, for all intents and purposes. I got a pretty damn good memory. That was perfection. I can't say a bad thing about this comic book after how good that simple thing was. I'm telling you, simplicity at its finest. And yet still, that was really good. Everything I get into for the rest of this comic book is going to be considered spoilers. So I've already told you it's a jumping on point. I've already told you it's good. Please go away if you didn't read this comic book. Come back to the review later if you so choose, and give a like, and don't forget to watch an ad or two, because that's the only way that your favorite YouTubers get paid, unless you want to visit my Patreon or my PayPal, I'm saying. So anyway, let's talk about some spoilers in this comic book for those of you who already read it, so I can talk about some more things that I really liked about this book. Go now. So, the coinless. That is a freaking amazing concept. So, who was it? Zach, who was the Black Ranger, the original Black Ranger, who used to do he didn't beatbox, what's it called? Breakdance. He used to do breakdance and stuff like that. He ain't dropping no cardboard anymore on the floor, because, like, he's bigger, he's gruffer, he's got the 5 o'clock shadow. You know what I'm saying? Like, this dude he's jacked to the gills. He's got guns with bullets, not, laser blasts, which, maybe they killed somebody. Maybe it just stunned them. Bullets are pretty finite. Bullets are pretty final. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a final word for you right there. Holy crap. He's out there, like, damn, slow down, son. Calm thyself. He's out there. Aisha is there, and Trini is there. And these are the last of the Rangers as we know so far, and they're the coinless. Their power coins are gone. So somehow they think that they're going to take on the Ranger Slayer and get her coin. Good luck with that. And Trini is coming down the hardest on her. More on that later when you find out the secrets she's been keeping. It's funny, the people who show, and this is in real life, the people who demonstrate the least amount of trust in others are the people who usually can't be trusted. And they know this. That's why they know themselves, even if it's like subliminally. They don't realize, outwardly, but they know themselves. I can't be trusted. You're a fool if you trust me. They're the people who least trust others, because they think, well, everybody's like me, aren't they? I'm the norm, aren't I? So yeah, Trini was not to be trusted in this, is what it is. She didn't betray anybody. Turns out that she's actually the person, so more on that later is now. She's actually the one who wound up resurrecting Rita's ghost. Holy crap. Did that happen in a previous comic book, or was that just here? Because either way, that was pretty epic. That was pretty epic. Plus, they left a seed. Zordon always said there was some good in her. If she does wind up coming back at some point, maybe we can see that. Because I'm telling you, redemption stories, they're one of those little plot elements that you throw in, a plot twist. But if done right, they could bring you to tears. They could bring you to tears. Imagine an issue where Rita comes back like 20 issues from now and she sacrifices herself because she does have some good in her. Imagine she does that because Zach winds up accepting her offer to become the Green Ranger, because there's no other way to do this. Like, who knows? We'll see. I with this one issue, I trust Ryan Parrott to do something amazing. You know what I'm saying? The idea of this book's got me thinking about so many other storylines that could possibly happen in the future. I'm sold, right? So these three are going out trying to beat up some bad guys and whatnot. Aisha kind of disappears in the pages at one point. Like, she's there in the background, and the fact that she disappeared at one point, Dan Moore just forgot to draw her in, I guess, after a couple of, like, I wonder if I can actually find it really quickly. Yeah, actually, it's right here. Damn, open up right to it. Boom, she's right there in the background, and then all of a sudden, like, you don't see her anymore. You don't see her in these panels anymore. And over here, it's like, here's actually, I'm going to get into that. Okay, so she's back here, and then all of a sudden, where'd she go? She's not in the background there anymore. Oh, over here, you can't see it anymore. I was looking at that. So, like, she's there, and then she's not there anymore. It's like, hi, bye. Maybe she was farther back. I don't know. I don't see her anymore in the rest of this. And that's where you'd figure you're going to see her. She's gone. She just disappeared. So it made me start thinking that maybe she was a ghost. That was bad. That was bad. A little mistake like that can make, especially when we see Rita later on. It's like, wait, what? But then Aisha appears later on, also in like a yellow souped-up ranger. I don't know what happened there at the end also. That was really weird how she got, as I thought they were going to explain, like, I put a force field on you or something like that. It's like she took a shot. It's like, actually, or was that Trini? I think that was Trini, actually. So that's another thing about Trini. She took a shot to save Scorpina. Scorpina? I think that was how you said her name. Commander Scorpina at one point. They said, yeah, Scorpina. So why would you do that? You couldn't trust Kimberly, but you could trust Scorpina? You were willing to lay your life down the line there? Like, there's some things that just sometimes don't work. So the teamwork thing, whatever, somehow at the end that wound up working. And they wind up putting, here's a spoiler for the very end of this. I'm actually going to show you the page because it was just, this is an issue 1, so that's what I do. So if you don't want to see the last page, piss off. That was your chance. They decided to put the Pink Ranger on the throne, which is epic. And like everybody's bowing to her as, you know, to make it official. This is called the Ranger Slayer, which is the Pink Ranger, who's the only Ranger who has the coin left. And yet the other people were doing some amazing things too. This comic book made me like Bulk and Skull, which I remember just despising these guys. I hated bullies. Everybody hates bullies. You know what I'm saying? I hated bullies when I was a kid. When I was finally old enough to, or big enough to beat up bullies, like, I'm one of those guys who liked high school. You know what I'm saying? Because I eventually grew big enough, you know what I'm saying, and trained in the martial arts enough. I was a Power Ranger before there were Power Rangers. But, like, I learned how to fight. I was able to fight off my bullies and actually, like, beat up my bullies. So, like, I enjoyed high school. So I hated Bulk and Skull. When I was a young adult watching some Power Rangers, I'm like, I hate Bulk and Skull. Redeemed. See, that's what I mean. Redemption stories. Redeemed. This was a really good book. All the things that happen in here, all the world building that happens in here, 3 different factions who wind up falling in on themselves. Was this the actual Lord Zed that was made into a monster? Rita's thing with, make my monster grow. Oh, man. Yeah, I do miss that stuff. I forgot that stuff. And that also, like, that memory caused me to start remembering a whole bunch of other things that have happened in the TV show. Parrott did such an amazing job. Listen. Lately, for the past month or so, I've been seeing a lot of people giving a lot of credit to artists and saying that the artists are the ones that are really making the comic book and blah, 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 and all that nonsense. You cannot deny what an artist does. You simply cannot deny that artists bring a lot of power to a comic book. Artists are what mainly differentiate novels from comics. Otherwise, you just have a cover artist, and maybe there's like a little sketch inside all the time. You know what I'm saying? I think it was in Nancy Boys. The book in Nancy Boys, maybe it was American Gods. One of those 2 books. Both of them written by Neil Gaiman. Neil Gaiman actually drew a quick sketch of a spider inside and said, oh, credit of the spider goes to me because I drew that little spider. It was a little thing, but it was a thing. And it's like even a writer can draw something little once in a while, you know? And it's not that big of a deal. I know that artists do an amazing job, and I love and respect artists. But it's the writer. It's always the writer. Sometimes it's the artist that's actually doing the writing. But you got to give credit to the writer. And to say that they don't have the biggest part in this, to me, is absurd. There are publishers who currently or used to work for Marvel and DC who are just like, no, the artists, they're really the big... I don't get that at all. I genuinely don't. Parrott made this comic book. It was emphasized by Mora. Just Mora. Dan Mora. M-O-R-A. However you pronounce his name. He did an amazing job, and I would not like to see this book with anybody else doing the art in this book. But the things that Parrott did in here were not things that had anything whatsoever to do with the art. They had everything to do with the story that was being told, the setup, and everything. I'm not here to make divisions. I'm not here to start chopping up and giving, you know, like separating credit for things. What I am saying is, based on what I've seen in the past month or so, people, you know, propping up an art, you know, artists a little bit too much, in my opinion. Bro. Great art in this book. I wouldn't have it any other way. And Mora definitely deserves, like, I don't know about 50% credit, but he deserves a lot of the credit here, along with the colorist, along with the letterer. They all deserve credit. My opinion, though, man, Parrott made this comic book. He made me want to buy the next issue, hands down. So, yeah. What else can he jog in my memories? What other new stories can he make? I don't know, but I can promise you I'll be here for them. because this was a really, really good book. Damn, this was good. And I was hoping that I'd be able to say this. I really was, but I doubted it. But I'm going to say it anyway. This was actually the surprise book of the week for me, possibly of the month. Damn it, I did not expect this to be this good. So there's that. Anyway, guys, if you haven't gotten this comic book and yet you're still here, you already made a mistake by letting me tell you so much about this comic book. How about you rectify that mistake by buying the comic book now? All right? No freebie stuff. No, go out, purchase the comic book, support Boom Comics, support the author, the writer, the artist, everybody involved. Definitely do that, because holy crap, this deserves it. All comic books deserve it, but hey, all comics matter. Anyway, guys, I'm about to get out of here. Hey, turn your phone sideways and hit that like button if you like the content that I provided you. And it is free content. It is completely free content if you're not watching, or at least allowing an ad to play. If you allow an ad to play, that's how all of your favorite YouTubers get paid. I'm simply pointing that out. Hey, it's up to you. I'll talk to you guys later. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.